I'm here. There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone, and I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone. And you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't feel Florida. All the pleasures of love will not be mine. My pen won't fall very fine when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't read the and I can't even worry about my care. Won't be asked to do my share when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to. Can't say who's to praise and who's to blame when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't see the golden hours when I'm gone, and the evenings and the mornings will be warm when I'm gone. Can't be singing louder than the guns while I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dances of light when I'm gone, and the sands will be shifting from my side when I'm gone. Can't have my name into the fight while I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughed at, and I can't question how or where or why. Can't live proud enough to lie when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. There's no place in this world when I'm gone, and I won't know the right from the wrong, and you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone.
So we're doing receiving?
So I guess I'll
Yeah, I need to. Let's walk.
I guess I'll
They're around the corner.
have to do it. Yes, I'll have to do it. Yeah. There's no place in this world where I'm found, and I won't know the right from the wrong, and you won't find me singing on this song when I'm done, so I guess I'll do it while I'm here. And I'll feel fine. All the pleasures of
I thought, well, I thought Mona and you and Ash were in. I'm thinking
so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I will bring praise and and I can't even worry about my cares when I'm gone. Won't be asked to do my share when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it.
Why is it doing that?
It's like the 15th time I've heard this song. There's one song.
And I won't be running from the rain. And I can't even suffer from the pain. And say who's to blame, who's to blame when I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't seek the golden other side when I'm gone. And the evenings and the mornings will be long. Can't be singing louder than the guns while I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dances of life. And the sands will be shifting from my side. And add my name into the fight while I'm gone. So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughed at. And I can't question how or where while I'm and you won't find me singing out.
What?
So I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I will feel all the
One of them is from
Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. We've come together today to mourn the loss of Dr. Stanley C. Diamond, who at the age of 80 has now left this life. We also come here today to honor the life that Stan led and to acknowledge the impact of his life on us, all that he taught us during the time that we had with him. Stan was a teacher to the core, and his classroom grew and grew through the years, expanding far beyond the walls of any one room to encompass the whole world. He was always teaching, whether he was challenging the students sitting in front of him or pointing out the beauty of nature to his children and grandchildren. We began our service today with the words of Psalm 90, asking God to teach us to treasure each day that we have on earth. These words could have come from Stan's mouth. He loved life, loved the people he lived that life with, and he always tried to draw their attention to the treasure trove of experiences that lay before them every day. Even to the last, Stan was looking forward, planning more experiences, more trips, more ways to share his fascination and wonder at the world around him with the people for whom he cared so deeply. Reading Stan's writings about his travels, you can feel how deep was his drive to experience the world. Not because he looked at the world with rose-colored glasses, but because he knew that experiencing the full breadth of life on this planet, the tragedy of poverty and the miracle of love, was what could make a person into a whole human being. He gave new meaning to those famous words of Ecclesiastes: "A season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for being born and a time for dying, a time for planting and a time for uprooting the planted, a time for slaying and a time for healing, a time for tearing down and a time for building up, a time for weeping and a time for laughing, a time for wailing and a time for dancing, a time for throwing stones and a time for gathering stones, a time for embracing and a time for shunning embraces, a time for seeking and a time for losing, a time for keeping and a time for discarding, a time for ripping and a time for sewing, a time for silence and a time for speaking, a time for loving and a time for hating, a time for war and a time for peace." Stan knew that the only way to understand the poles of human existence is to experience them all. The only way to make peace is to learn about those who are most different from you. And the only way to create justice is to take into account the needs of all. These are the goals Stan worked for every day of his life: understanding, peace, and justice. But he didn't just talk or lecture about these things. He set an example throughout his life of taking action to make the values he cherished come more fully into the world. And this example was what made him a leader, what allowed him to touch so many lives, and what let him achieve his goal of leaving the world better off for his passing through it. Today is a day of sadness as we realize how much we have lost in not having Stan with us in this world any longer. But today is also a day of gratitude, as we appreciate all the lessons that Stan taught us every day he was here. And his words, some of which we'll hear today, are still here in his blog posts, in his books, in his letters. We still have so much to learn from him. The breadth of Stan's life as an administrator, a traveler, a parent, a grandparent, and most of all as a teacher is impossible to contain in the time that we have here together today. The stories we'll hear today are just the beginning, prelude to the stories we'll share during the days of Shiva and during the weeks, months, and years to come as we remember him. So we'll begin by hearing from some of those closest to Stan during his life, his children, Gary and Jody.
Can you hear me? As many of you know, my father was an amazing man and a role model whose life touched and inspired me and many others. His actions taught me the importance of caring for others, particularly those who are hurting or less fortunate. And he demonstrated what it means to be engaged in one's community and to work for social justice. The way he lived instilled in me an ongoing awareness that our time on earth is finite, an awareness that compels me to try to make the most of every moment. And my dad certainly was intent on making the most of every moment. I remember one of our family trips. My dad has always planned the itinerary and then sent it to all of us by email so that we knew exactly what to expect and to help us get excited. As usual, our days were to be filled with activities from 7 in the morning until 9 at night, visiting villages, historical sites and local schools, witnessing indigenous dance and rituals. On this particular occasion, however, some of our clan were feeling the need for a little R&R and asked for a 1 or 2 day reprieve to relax a bit by the beach. In response, my father looked at them in disbelief and reminded them that we would all have time to rest when we were dead, but not on one of his trips. The most important thing I received and cherished from my dad, however, was his limitless love. He adored and loved his wife, Bev, without bound. He loved his friends completely. He loved his children and their spouses, Lenny and Reevy, and he especially loved his grandchildren, Ross, Gabrielle, Oriana, Harrison, and Yahel. They were his pride and joy. Every meeting I had with my father began the same way, with a hug, a kiss, and the words, "I love you." And every meeting also ended the same way, with a hug, kiss, and the words, "I love you very much." The moments in between were filled with special times together, bike rides through Valley Green and along the Schuylkill River, dinner time talks during which we shared the details of each other's lives, temple basketball and football games, trips, holidays, and family get-togethers. But above all, it was the constant experience I had of being loved, cared about, and supported that is his greatest legacy. It has left me with an inner sense of worth, security, optimism, and loving that hopefully I'm able to pass on to my own children. So while my dad is no longer with us in the physical sense, his spirit lives on in me, my family, and all whom he has touched.
The inevitable. Having to say goodbye to someone you love so deeply, so intensely, that it is virtually impossible to imagine, yet it is the inevitable. When I started to put into words how I feel about my father, it was the most awesome task. Certainly not because I couldn't think of what to say, but the contrary. There are truly no words that could do justice to my dad, or even touch the surface of my relationship with him. My father is the most incredible person I've ever known. I know that many people think their father's the greatest father that ever lived. Mine truly was. Anyone that knew my dad loved my dad. I remember being in college, and at the time we had hall phones. Anybody nearby would answer the hall phone and take a message. My dad always assumed it was me answering for some reason. And he would say in his very gentle and soothing voice, "Hello, my love," or "Hello, my life." My friends would always say, "There sounds like a great guy on the phone for you." Well, that was an understatement. My dad did whatever he could to enrich my life. He was always finding activities and experiences that I would not only enjoy, but that were designed to broaden my knowledge of people and the world and my place in it, as well as to create within myself a sense of confidence, independence, and self-worth. We spent countless hours biking through Valley Green and Kelly Drive, training for my summer bicycle trips through Canada and New England. These are some of my most cherished memories. We would talk and laugh and share stories. We would challenge each other. Well, let's be honest, he would challenge me. He was in incredible shape and rarely ever missed a day bicycling, which continued well into his 70s, even as he bravely fought through physical changes to his body. I vividly remember how he explained this basic scientific concept. If I am consistently biking 10 feet behind him, I'm going at the same pace he is. So if I just catch up, we can ride next to each other. Simple yet brilliant. My father was always there to listen and help me through any challenges I faced throughout my life. He was always sensitive, loving, patient, and kind, and knew the right things to say, whether I was afraid of the dark as a little girl, breaking up with a high school boyfriend, or more recently with the many challenges of raising 3 children of my own. My dad was almost always the first call I made. Often I would call to tell him something and then say, "Okay, I'm gonna go call Lenny. Don't tell him I called you first." Not only was he my mentor, but I watched throughout my life with awe how he tirelessly worked to make our community and the world at large a better place. Whether he was participating in the civil rights movement, being on the board of the Jewish Community Relations Council, his leadership in the Interfaith Coalition for the General Welfare, feeding the homeless, and helping the needy in our community, organizing the first NIM celebration of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, an annual celebration that continues today, donating countless hours and his own dollars to various causes that he believed in, including donating the proceeds of his recently published book to the organization Doctors Without Borders. These are just a few of the many examples I can give regarding his endless desire to help others less fortunate and stand up for what he believed. He was a role model for all who knew him and touched the lives of more people than is imaginable. How proud I am to have him as my father. He was the most loving and devoted grandfather, better known to all as Bebop. From the moment Ross, his first grandchild, was born, he embraced his new role, and it became one of the most important roles in his life. He was the grandfather who enjoyed nothing more than spending quality time with Ross, Gabby, Harrison, or Yana and Nahel, any chance he got. Whether it was simply getting down on the floor to play with toys, taking them to every imaginable concert, museum, aquarium, art show, theater presentation, or lecture, whether they wanted to or not, taking them on trips to enrich their lives, such as countries in Africa, Central America, and Europe. His goal being not only endless fun and quality family bonding time, but exposure to various cultures and peoples. What a husband. My parents had a 52-year love affair that was indescribable. He worshiped my mom and she worshiped him. As independent of a man as he wasn't too fond of spending any time away from my mom. They spent a lifetime cherishing each other beyond words and were there for each other without exception. My dad left the world a better place because he was in it. Daddy, you didn't miss one day, 1 hour, or 1 moment. No regrets. I will end with the lyrics to one of my dad's very favorite songs by Phil Oakes. These lyrics epitomize how my dad lived his life. There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone, and I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone. And you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't feel the flowing of the time when I'm gone. All the pleasures of love will not be mine when I'm gone. My pen won't pour out a lyric line when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't breathe the bracing air when I'm gone, and I can't even worry about my cares when I'm gone. Won't be asked to do my share when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be running from the rain when I'm gone, and I can't even suffer from the pain when I'm gone. Can't say who's to praise and who's to blame when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't see the golden of the sun when I'm gone, and the evenings and the mornings will be one when I'm gone. Can't be singing louder than the guns when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dances of delight when I'm gone, and the sands will be shifting from my sight when I'm gone. Can't add my name into the fire when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughing at the lies when I'm gone, and I can't question how or when or why when I'm gone. Can't live proud enough to die when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here.
I'm just going to read one short letter. It's a short excerpt from an email that we received last night by a person by the name of David Tadine, who is currently the director of the Israel Resource News Agency, Center for Near East Policy Research in Jerusalem. And David was a 7th grade student in my father's class at Akiva Hebrew Academy 50 years ago. And this letter is just one of many examples of letters that Stan received over the years expressing individuals' appreciation for the role he played in their life and development. I can't tell you how many letters and emails and calls he would get each year. And this is what it reads. Before I learned that Stan died, I composed a letter to Mr. D, as Stan was affectionately known in Akiba, asking if he remembered our lively discussion during the Cuban Missile Crisis exactly 50 years ago this week, and to thank him half a century later for having the patience to inspire me and many other youngsters to develop an independent mind and to rely on facts, not on assumptions, in order to understand what is going on around us. I still remember how Mr. D taught us to write the facts on one side of a 3x5 card and the source of the facts on the other. One could easily say that Mr. D planted in me the seeds that led to me being a social worker and an investigative reporter years later. Even now, I invoke Mr. D's fact card method when teaching journalism students, though most have never seen or used an actual 3x5 card. This past Monday night, I helped an Ethiopian Israeli named Eleli Admasu, who was sworn in at the Knesset with a speech on the subject of affirmative action for Ethiopian Israelis, a speech meant to highlight the importance of securing the dignity of Ethiopians, that what they deserved in Israeli society. During his speech at the Knesset, again, I was thinking of Stan and what he had taught me about dignity and civil rights 50 years earlier. When I got back to the office, the first email waiting for me was a message from my sister, who had also studied at Akiba, that Stan had died. It was as if Stan had visited my home, the Knesset, and my office, while en route to heaven. While Stan is no longer with us in his body, his soul and legacy live on. May his memory be a blessing to all. David the Dean.
For those of you that don't know, I'm Lenny, and this is Reeve, and Stan is our father-in-law. I know Reeve has had a special relationship with Stan, as well as many of the people in this room did. Mine goes back to when I was about 9 or 10 years old, and Stan worked at the summer camp that I attended. Even then, I remember liking him and always enjoyed seeing him around camp, whether it was a bunk activity, or just getting a warm hello, hey, how's it going, while walking by, or trying to get him to give me a ride in his golf cart. There was Bev too, of course, working in the central office, and I remember always going there, making up some excuse or another just to get in there with the air conditioning. And there was always Bev right at the front there to greet me with a great big smile. Now we flash forward 15 or so years, I'm getting married to Jody, and I remember thinking, hey, this is great, Stan the man is going to be my father-in-law. But little did I know how great that really was. It didn't take long, and over the years, those feelings got stronger and stronger. Lucky is an understatement. I feel like I hit the in-law jackpot. Stan was such an incredible role model for me. I couldn't possibly go into all the life lessons I learned from him about the world we live in, about compassion, empathy, and basically how to be a caring, giving citizen of the world, about living life to the fullest, thinking about my surroundings, but especially caring for those who are less fortunate than myself. Finally, when it comes to my children, and I know Reeve feels the same way, we're both just so blessed to have had Stan be such a huge influence in our children's lives. And it really helped us shape them into the amazing kids they are today. Stan loved you guys so much. And I know today, like myself, will forever be grateful for all that he did for us. Will be tremendously missed by us all. A few years ago, Stan wrote a letter to his grandchildren to be read after he's gone. We all just read that, an incredible 5-page, single-space type letter about his life, what influenced him, his thoughts on life in general, and our place in the world. He wanted to put it down in writing just to make sure he didn't miss anything. Regardless of the countless hours he spent with the kids, just in case. One last lesson. Well, the part Reeve and I want to read starts off by saying, so what can I say I learned on this wonderful voyage? Listen a moment, Ross, Gabs, or Jan Harrison and Yahel. Make sure that whatever else you do, the world is better off for your existence. You don't have to be a martyr to do that, but always think about other people. Make time for them. Love them, not just personally, but generally too. Commit yourself to causes that make our world a better place. Allow yourself to feel the suffering of refugees throughout the world, the poverty of Africans and Asians, and others who live on dirt floors and shield themselves from rains with thatch or with tin. The agonies of crippling, preventable diseases. Be purposeful, generous, unselfish as you deal with others throughout your lives. You will gain far more than you give. You will give your life meaning in this world.
Be courageous in how you live. Follow your dreams by taking risks, by putting yourself and your comfort and security and integrity on the line. Without courage, there is no opportunity to grow and learn about yourself. No chance of excitement in the newness and freshness of experience. If you fall down, get up, brush yourself off, and get back onto the adventure you are embarked upon. There are few challenges I have ever regretted, and more that I have not learned, and none that I have not learned from. None that have not been stimulating, and all have made my life richer. Seek them out and dive into them with gusto.
Be loving to your spouse, your parents, your children, your friends, each other. Along with courage and commitment, there's no more rewarding quality than lovingness. Without you and Bubby, your parents, and our dear friends, my life probably would have been as adventurous, but far emptier. Fill yours with other people by giving care and respect to all. Help them get up when they fall, and you will always have arms to lean upon yourself.
Think and learn at every opportunity. Use new settings and new challenges to grow. Do not let yourselves be seduced by comfort or security. Do not collect things, cars, houses, clothing, jewels, for the sake of accumulation. Keep only things that have real meaning for you. Instead, collect insights and wonders, love and compassion, challenges and wisdom. These are truly the stuff of life. Nurture your spiritual and your intellectual selves. Look for the meaning in what you do, for all actions have a spiritual and ethical implication. Note, the philosopher, Immanuel Kant, suggests we behave as if our actions were the way all people were to behave and imagine the world that ensues. Martin Buber, the Israeli wise man, tells us to treat one another as sacred beings in the way the best of our tradition teaches us to love our neighbors as ourselves. To lead a full and meaningful life, we must know what the choices are, learn from the thinkers who precede us, be faithful to ourselves, and look to grow as citizens and as human beings. This is your work, but rewarding work it is.
I did not do all of this to the extent I would like to have done. So I do have a few regrets about laziness at times, about settling for less than I should at others, but I tried. That is what I want you to do, for your sake and the sake of the world you will be living in. No one of us is perfect, and there are times when self-indulgence is not a bad thing. I've spent hours watching some dumb or artless program on TV, or giving into creature pleasures rather than living by high ideals. We have stayed at luxurious hotels in cities where poverty was all around us, and I could have used that money to help others nearby have shelter or food that they otherwise would not have. I could have given more money to purposes I believed in, or have done a more complete job of some task I was undertaking to make my community better. I could have spoken more kindly to a friend or to a competitor, or been more sensitive to an antagonist. I'm not proud of these things, but if you just do your best as often as you can, I don't think you can ask more of yourself. I did try to do that. I hope you will also.
At the end of my life, I feel that the world is a better place, better off because I existed. That is a satisfying, peaceful thought. Anything less than that would not have been sufficient.
I wanted to share just two images that have come to my mind thinking about Stan's life. The first one is of the Tower of Babel, one of the earliest stories in Jewish tradition, a just so story that seeks to explain the diversity we find in the world. Once upon a time, the story goes, everyone spoke the same language. But the people became arrogant. Instead of using their collective power to help each other, they used it to try to displace God by building a tower so tall that its top could reach the heavens. When God saw what they were doing, God confused their speech so that many different languages developed, dividing the people from each other. Some might end the story there, and they might derive the lesson that diversity is a curse imposed by God on humanity to punish them for the sin of arrogance. But I think Stan would look at it a different way. The earth is a classroom, and God's the teacher. What is the teacher trying to teach the people? What do they need to learn? The fact that there are such diverse languages, cultures, and modes of thought on the earth means that in order to achieve anything of lasting worth, we need to cooperate and work together with people who are not like us. We need to learn from cultures that are not our own, and we need to join together with people with whom we might seem to have little in common. Diversity is a blessing given to us by God to help us find the truth outside of ourselves. Stan worked his whole life to try to teach this lesson. In his work as an educator, he used his many talents, his voice, his knowledge, his humor, to try to expand his students' minds, to try to get them to think outside the box. His 16 years at Akiva Hebrew Academy, years at the Mill Creek School, and his 32 years at summer camps showed his devotion to helping children learn and develop themselves as human beings beyond where they came from and what they had known before. That same passion to join together diverse groups of people toward a higher purpose drove Stan's extraordinary devotion to civil rights and community work. From founding both the Philadelphia chapter of the Congress on Racial Equality and the Coordinating Council for School Integration, to serving on the boards of the Jewish Community Relations Council and the Northwest Interfaith Movement, NIM. The annual NIM celebration of the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that Stan created in 1983 and that he chaired for many years still reflects his vision, showing the beauty of people coming together across many lines of difference that could have divided them to declare their shared commitment to understanding, to peace, and to justice. I was so happy to have been at last year's MLK celebration, at which Stan was honored with the Richard R. Fernandez Religious Leadership Award for his interfaith and civil rights work through the years. No one could have deserved that award more. The second image that I was thinking about is Stan's amazing collection of masks. As you may know, Stan collected over 100 masks from cultures all over the world in his second career as a traveler, lecturer, photographer, and author. But as Stan wrote, these masks were not just mementos of the places he had visited with Beverly, his trusty travel companion, or even of the many trips they took with their entire family of children and grandchildren, trips Stan did plan meticulously and enjoyed immensely. Every one of these masks had a story behind it, a story of the people Stan had met, the rituals he had seen, and beliefs and customs he had come to understand in far-off lands. He enjoyed the look of each mask, even if that didn't always. But even more, he enjoyed the story behind the mask. And I think these masks get at something important that Stan was trying to teach through his travel and through his lectures and books and writings about it. Everyone wears a mask. And those masks can be beautiful or scary or surprising to those who have not encountered them before. But behind the mask, there's always a person to encounter. A person who may seem very different from you, but with whom you have a lot in common. And there is something to be learned both from the mask and from what lies behind it. Something that can help bring our fractured world closer together. Stan was a gentle soul, but he could also seem larger than life. He never missed a teachable moment, and he wouldn't want us to miss this one. Stan taught by the example of his life, and our job here today is to learn from him, to keep learning the lessons that he is still trying to teach us. He wanted to leave this world and the people whose lives he touched better off for his having existed, and he succeeded. He can keep on having that effect on the world through us when we learn from him and keep his ideals alive in our lives. May his memory and his example be a blessing to us always. Let us all say, Amen. Stan was so full of life, so strong, with a brilliant and curious mind and a warm and open heart. And he was always optimistic, even during the most difficult periods of illness, convinced that recovery was always around the corner. He always wanted to live each moment to its fullest, to eke out every memory of his life. It's so difficult to accept that this ever-vibrant husband, father, and grandfather is actually gone. Deb, you shared 52 years of marriage with the man you loved, your soulmate. You raised a wonderful family together, and then you traveled around the world together. You told me how grateful you are for the amazing gift of Stan's presence in your life, and at the same time, the pain of his loss runs deep within you. May your gratitude for the amazing time you had together and the love of the beautiful family that surrounds you give you comfort as you learn to live a life without him by your side. His physical presence has left you, but the bond that you shared never will. Gary and Jody, you had such close and loving relationships with your father, and you carry your many memories of your times together close to your hearts. Even though you were often far from each other in distance, your father made sure that you were never far from each other in your hearts. And he bound you together with the force of his love. May that love, the memories he worked so hard to create for you, and the loving example he set for you to follow sustain you as you mourn. Ross, Gabby, Harrison, Orion, and Yahel, each of you was your grandfather's favorite. He had a different and special relationship with each of you. He loved you so much. He was always trying to teach you how he thought a person should live. And that guidance and love will always be with you. So we say to all who mourn Stan today, Bev, to Gary, Reeve, and Jody, and Len, Ross and Gabby, and Harrison, and Mariana, and now, and to his beloved students and colleagues, and the many close friends who were such a big part of Stan's life. May you take comfort in sharing your memories with each other and in being together, Stan's lasting legacy in this world. Stan was a traveler, and he has now left on the ultimate journey. There's a tradition that we say to the living when they leave us, Lech li shalom, go toward peace. Praying that each of us, as we travel the road of life, will find the peace that too often eludes us on our journey. But when we part from those who have left this life, we say, Lech bi shalom, go in peace, confident that they have finally come to rest in peace and that we can take comfort in that knowledge. So to Stan we say, Lech bi shalom, go in peace, go in peace. After so many journeys and so much learned and taught along the way, may you now come to rest in peace. At the conclusion of our service here, the family will return to Jody's home for Shiva, which will be observed there this evening, as well as Wednesday and Thursday evenings. And services each evening will take place at 7 o'clock p.m. Let's all now rise for the memorial prayer. El Malay Rahmi, God fill the
exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Stanley C. Diamond, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask with love that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bonds of our lives. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
You can be seated. When we mourn, they have a prayer to say, the mourner's Kaddish. And this prayer originally was used to mark the end of learning. So it's especially appropriate to say in Stan's memory, to acknowledge all that we learned from him. And the prayer, if it asks for anything, asks for persistence. All of those high values that were so much a part of Stan's life and he taught endlessly will remain part of our lives, become part of our days in our time, and thus be spread to the world. Now it's time for the mourners to rise for the mourners' Kaddish. And the transliteration can be found in the pamphlet. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ya'amad yifrach yilutei yamlich malchutei v'chayechon yomechon chayei b'chol beit Yisrael ba'adala u'bizman kariv v'yivru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah levorach le'alam le'almei almayah. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei v'kudeshah rihu le'ezah in kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nachamata damiran v'yalma v'yivru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemayam v'chayim aleinu v'yarko Yisrael v'yivru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromam hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yarko Yisrael v'yivru. The end of the mourner's Kaddish is a prayer for peace. We look up into the heavens and we see a place of peace. And we ask that some of that peace come down to us in a world that sometimes seems filled with strife. And the examples of lives like Stan's, someone who worked and taught to bring that peace into the world, will inspire us on our journey. Eternal God who comforts mourners, the life of one we love and long for is now a memory. Although our gratitude for the gift of that precious life is great, our anger and misery over the loss we have suffered can sometimes overwhelm us. You are the source of light. By your light do we see light. Illumine our darkness. Send us comfort and consolation. Help us to embody in ourselves all that was best in Stan's life. Grant us the determination and the strength to extend that life by helping us enrich the lives of others. So will Stan's presence continue among us. So will his family's life continue in spite of loss. So will his memory endure as a blessing forever. Let us say,
Amen.
direction, one row at a time. First row.
And I'll be running from the rain, and I can't even suffer from the pain. Can't say who's to praise and who's to blame when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't see the golden of the sun when I'm gone, and the evenings and the mornings will be one when I'm gone. Can't be singing louder than the guns while I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dancing of life, and the sands will be shifting from my side. Get at my name into the fight while I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughing at the lies when I'm gone, and I can't question how or when or why when I'm gone. Can't look proud enough to die when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone, and I will know the right from the wrong when I'm gone, and you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it. I guess I'll have to do it. Guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. There's no place in this world where I'll belong when I'm gone, and I won't know the right from the wrong when I'm gone, and you won't find me singing on this song when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't feel the flight of the time when I'm gone. All the pleasures of love will not be mine when I'm gone. My pen won't pour lyric wine when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't breathe the bracing air when I'm gone, and I can't even worry about my cares when I'm gone. Won't be asked to do my share when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be running from the rain when I'm gone, and I can't even suffer from the pain when I'm gone. Can't say who's to praise and who's to blame when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. Won't see the golden of the sun when I'm gone, and the evenings and the mornings will be one when I'm gone. Can't be singing louder than the guns while I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. All my days won't be dances of delight when I'm gone, and the sands will be shifting from my side when I'm gone. Can't add my name into the fight while I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. And I won't be laughing at the light when I'm gone. And I can't question how or when or why when I'm gone. Can't look proud enough to die when I'm gone, so I guess I'll have to do it while I'm here. There's no place in this world when I'm gone.
If it isn't, it will be now. Nah, the girls did it.
Make sure you knew that my mother sent me.
I have another bag in the back room.